Jenny gave Sumit the one choice he had avoided for years. Her or his family. There was no extra week to think. No promise to discuss it later. No emotional speech about finding balance. His clothes were already packed. His parents were waiting outside. Jenny stood near the door, looked directly at him, and demanded the truth. Choose me or your family. And Sumit finally answered. I'm going home with my family. That one sentence did not simply end an argument. It exposed the central problem inside their entire marriage. Sumit had spent years telling Jenny that she was his choice. He had defended their relationship, challenged his family, and repeatedly promised that their marriage came first. But the moment his family welcomed him back, everything suddenly became negotiable again. And here is what makes this fictional storyline much deeper than one dramatic ultimatum. Did Sumit truly choose his family in that final moment? Or had he already made the decision days earlier? Was Jenny protecting her marriage, or did her ultimatum push Sumit toward the exact outcome she feared? And were Sumit's parents honestly trying to rebuild their relationship with their son? Or were they offering him a path home that only worked if Jenny stayed outside? Because by the time Jenny saw the packed bag, Sumit had already held a secret meeting. He had already discussed moving home. And his family had already arrived expecting him to leave with them. Jenny believed she was demanding a decision. But she may have been watching Sumit announce a choice he had already made behind her back. The biggest shift began during Sumit's private meeting with his parents. This was not another loud confrontation. His mother did not attack Jenny. His father did not order Sumit to end the marriage. They did something much more effective. They became calm. His mother told him she was tired of fighting. His father said the family home felt empty without him. They did not say, leave your wife. They said, we want our son back. That difference matters because anger gives someone an enemy. Guilt gives them a responsibility. When Sumit's family openly rejected the relationship, he could defend Jenny. He could tell himself that he was protecting his wife from unfair treatment. Their opposition made his decision feel simple. Jenny was the person he loved. His family was the force trying to separate them. But once his parents stopped attacking, Sumit lost that clear battle line. Now they were not asking him to betray Jenny. At least, not directly. They were asking him to visit his parents, heal old wounds, and return to the home where he grew up. That sounds reasonable until you notice who was missing from the invitation. Jenny. His family wanted Sumit back inside their world. But there was no serious offer to welcome his wife into that same space. They wanted access to their son without addressing the marriage that had caused the separation. And Sumit noticed that. He simply did not challenge it. That was the first major red flag. Sumit could have asked whether Jenny was welcome. He could have said he would not make any decision without speaking to his wife. He could have demanded clear boundaries before agreeing to anything. Instead, he told his family he would think about returning. Then he went home and said nothing. Wanting a relationship with his parents is not the problem. Missing family celebrations, birthdays, and ordinary moments would hurt almost anyone. Sumit should not have to pretend that losing contact with his parents did not affect him. But rebuilding that relationship required honesty. The moment he hid the meeting, this stopped being only a family problem. It became another trust problem. Jenny noticed the change almost immediately. Sumit was quieter. He gave short answers. He kept checking his phone. Whenever Jenny entered the room, he appeared to close messages or move the screen. Those actions may sound small, but secrecy usually begins with small changes. It begins with someone looking away. It begins with an explanation that does not sound complete. It begins with a partner sensing that a conversation has happened without them. Jenny eventually saw messages asking when Sumit planned to come home. And that word carried more weight than anyone admitted. Home. To Sumit's parents, home meant the house where he grew up. To Jenny, home should have meant the life they built together. So when his family asked when he was coming home, Jenny did not hear a simple invitation. She heard a rejection. She heard his parents saying that his marriage was temporary, while their house remained his real home. That is why Jenny immediately became defensive. Her reaction was not based only on one message. It came from years of feeling that Sumit's family viewed her as an obstacle. But Jenny also made the conflict harder. She treated nearly every attempt by Sumit to reconnect with his parents as a threat against their marriage. That left Sumit feeling like he was not being asked to create boundaries. He felt like he was being ordered to erase an entire part of himself. This is where both sides began feeding the same unhealthy cycle. Jenny became suspicious because Sumit hid things. Sumit hid things because he expected Jenny to become suspicious. Then Jenny used his secrecy as proof that she could not trust him. And Sumit used her anger as proof that honesty was impossible. Both believed the other person caused the problem. Meanwhile, neither one changed the pattern. When Jenny confronted him about the messages, Sumit finally admitted the truth. His family wanted him to move back into their home for several weeks. Jenny asked the most important question. Am I invited? Sumit could not answer. That silence was more damaging than a direct no. Because if this were honestly about family healing, Jenny should have been part of the discussion. She might not have wanted to stay with them. The family might have needed time and boundaries. But completely excluding her suggested that this reunion depended on keeping the marriage separate. Sumit insisted the move would only be temporary. Jenny asked how temporary. 2 weeks? 1 month? Until his mother felt better? Until another family crisis appeared? Who would decide when he returned? Sumit had no clear plan. And this is one of his most consistent weaknesses. Sumit makes emotional promises without creating practical boundaries. He tells Jenny that he loves her. He tells his parents that he misses them. He tells both sides that he wants peace. But peace is not created by keeping everyone hopeful until the final second. Sometimes peace requires an honest answer that disappoints someone. Sumit avoids that discomfort. He delays. He softens the truth. He tells each person enough to calm them down. Then the two different versions eventually collide. Jenny told him he could not call this a marriage while living 2 separate lives. Sumit asked for more time. Jenny refused. And this is where viewers would likely become divided. Some fans would say Jenny's ultimatum was unfair. Marriage should not require someone to completely abandon their parents. Sumit had already lost years with his family. Wanting those relationships back did not automatically mean he loved Jenny less. A section of the audience would also point out that Jenny understood the importance of family in Sumit's life from the beginning. She knew this relationship came with cultural pressure, family expectations, and emotional consequences. From that perspective, demanding that he permanently choose one side was never a realistic solution. But other viewers would strongly defend Jenny. They would argue that she was not truly asking Sumit to stop loving his family. She was asking whether their marriage would ever become his first responsibility. There is a difference between visiting your parents and secretly planning to move home. There is a difference between rebuilding family ties and excluding your spouse from the process. And there is a major difference between asking for balance and packing a bag before your wife knows you are considering leaving. Jenny's ultimatum sounded extreme because the relationship had reached an extreme point. She had waited years for Sumit to make clear decisions. Every time he delayed, she carried more uncertainty. From her perspective, giving him another week would not create clarity. It would only restart the same cycle. This is what makes the argument difficult. Jenny believes love should be proven through loyalty. Sumit believes love should make room for competing loyalties. Neither belief is completely wrong. The problem is that they never agreed on what marriage required from them. Sumit later admitted that choosing Jenny had not erased the pain of losing his family. That may have been his most honest statement. He did love Jenny. But love did not remove his grief. Every missed birthday reminded him of what he lost. Every celebration he did not attend created another emotional cost. Jenny viewed his family as a threat that kept returning. Sumit viewed the separation from his family as a wound that never healed. Both emotions can be real at the same time. The real problem was not that Sumit felt conflicted. The problem was that he hid the conflict until it became a secret decision. He had already told his mother he might return home. Jenny did not know. So when Jenny demanded that he choose, she believed the decision was still open. But Sumit had already given his family enough hope to start making plans. Then Jenny found the bag. His clothes were folded inside it. He had prepared everything he needed to leave. Sumit claimed he packed only in case he decided to stay with his family for a few days. Jenny saw it differently. To her, the bag proved that he had prepared his exit before giving her the full truth. And her interpretation makes sense. Packing is not the same as considering an option. Packing means some part of you expects the option to happen. That was the moment Jenny's suspicion became evidence in her mind. She pulled the bag into the living room and demanded an answer. Then the argument turned into a competition over sacrifice. Jenny reminded Sumit that she had left her life in America. She had waited years for stability. She had faced public criticism, family disapproval, and constant uncertainty. She believed every sacrifice proved her commitment. Sumit responded that he had sacrificed years of peace with his own parents. That sentence revealed the emotional trap inside their marriage. Both people believed their pain should guarantee loyalty from the other. Jenny's sacrifices were real. But when sacrifice becomes the main reason someone must remain in a relationship, love can begin to feel like debt. Sumit's losses were also real, but he could not use his family pain to excuse secrecy and expect Jenny to accept the consequences. Jenny accused him of rewriting their history. Years earlier, Sumit presented the marriage as a love worth risking everything for. Now that his family had opened the door again, he talked about that same decision as if it had taken his entire life away. Sumit told Jenny that loving her should not require abandoning everyone else forever. That was a fair point delivered at the worst possible time. That conversation should have happened before the secret meeting. It should have happened before the messages. It definitely should have happened before he packed. Instead, the truth arrived with one foot already outside the door. Jenny looked at him and said the line that changed everything. Choose your family or your wife. Before Sumit could respond, someone knocked. His parents had arrived. That timing removed any chance of a private, thoughtful decision. Sumit was now standing between both sides while everyone waited for him to prove his loyalty. Jenny believed his parents had come to pressure him. His mother claimed they arrived because Sumit had said he might return. And with one sentence, she exposed the private promise. Jenny turned toward him. You already told him, yes? Sumit tried to explain that he only said returning was possible. But emotionally, that difference no longer mattered. He had created one expectation with his parents and another with Jenny. This is what chronic conflict avoidance looks like. You tell each person the version that causes the least pain in that moment. You tell your wife you are only thinking. You tell your parents you may come home. You hope time will somehow solve the contradiction. Then everyone ends up in the same room and every hidden detail becomes public. Sumit's mother argued that her son should not have to prove his love by cutting off his parents. Jenny responded that his family had repeatedly made him prove his loyalty by hurting her. Both statements described the same conflict from opposite sides. Each side believed the other had created the test. Then Sumit's father announced that the family car was waiting outside. That detail changed the entire situation. His family did not arrive expecting a discussion. They arrived expecting a departure. The transportation was arranged. The invitation had become a plan. And Sumit had apparently done nothing to stop that expectation. Jenny asked him to look directly at her. She told him this was not about one visit. This was about whether their marriage would always become negotiable whenever his family called. Sumit said he never wanted to choose. Jenny gave him the most accurate response possible. Refusing to choose has been your choice for years. Avoiding a decision does not keep everything equal. It allows the strongest pressure to control the outcome. After a long pause, Sumit finally said it. I need my family back. Jenny asked whether that meant he was leaving. He said yes. And for a few seconds, her anger disappeared. She had demanded an answer, but she was not emotionally prepared to hear that answer. That tells us something important about the ultimatum. Jenny probably did not give him the choice because she wanted the marriage to end. She believed forcing the decision would make Sumit choose her clearly and permanently. Instead, he chose the family he had spent years resisting. Jenny asked whether their marriage had meant anything. Sumit said it had meant everything, but he could not continue living without his parents. That sounded emotional. It also contained a major contradiction. If the marriage meant everything, why was Jenny excluded from the decision? Why had he packed before their conversation? Why had his parents arrived with a car already waiting? His words said the marriage mattered. His actions showed the choice was already moving forward. Jenny told him he was not choosing peace. He was choosing the same family conflict that had followed their relationship for years. Sumit did not fight back. He admitted she might never forgive him. Then he picked up the bag. Before he reached the door, Jenny stopped him one final time. She warned him not to return whenever his family disappointed him. I will not be the person you come back to when they reject you. That was the moment Jenny stopped asking to be chosen. She finally created a boundary. For years, she fought for Sumit to publicly select her. Now she was saying that if he walked away, she would not remain available as his backup plan. Sumit hesitated. For 1 second, it appeared he might put the bag down. He did not. He apologized and walked out with his parents. Jenny closed the door. She did not follow. And honestly, that silence would probably affect viewers more than the yelling. When someone is screaming, they are often still fighting for the relationship. When they become calm, stop chasing, and close the door, something has changed. They may no longer be trying to win. They may be preparing to leave. But Sumit's return home did not create the peace he expected. At first, his parents welcomed him emotionally. Everyone was relieved. The family had their son back. Then the question started.
How long was he staying?
Would Jenny keep calling? Did returning home mean the marriage was over? Sumit said he had not decided to end his marriage. He only wanted time with his family. His mother's reaction changed immediately. She believed his return represented a complete decision. Sumit believed it was a temporary step toward balance. Once again, he had allowed different people to attach different meanings to the same promise. Jenny believed he had abandoned the marriage. His family believed he had chosen them completely. Sumit somehow believed he could walk out with his parents without permanently losing his wife. That is not balance. That is denial. Some viewers would likely say Sumit wanted the emotional reward of choosing his family without accepting the cost. He wanted his parents to welcome him home. But he also expected Jenny to remain emotionally available. He wanted to leave the apartment without truly ending the relationship. Jenny's warning removed that safety net. Back at the apartment, her behavior changed. She was no longer yelling. She removed Sumit's belongings from the closet. She placed everything near the door. Then she began packing her own suitcases. She admitted that she may have stayed because she wanted every sacrifice to mean something. That is one of the most painful parts of long, difficult relationships. The more time someone invests, the harder leaving becomes. Walking away can feel like admitting that the years, sacrifices, and battles led nowhere. But staying only to justify the past can create an even greater loss. Jenny finally sent Sumit one message. You made your choice. I'm making mine. Then she began preparing to leave India. This was not simply revenge. It was Jenny realizing that she could not build a stable future around Sumit's repeated indecision. Sumit saw the message. His family advised him not to respond immediately. His mother believed contacting Jenny would pull him back into the same conflict. That advice showed that the reunion already came with expectations. Sumit returned hoping to reconnect with his family. Now, they were influencing how he handled his wife. He tried calling Jenny privately. She did not answer. His father told him to let the emotion settle. But time was exactly what Sumit no longer had. Jenny had spent years waiting for him to decide. She was not going to spend another week waiting for him to regret this decision. Then Sumit saw the packed suitcases. That was when the consequences became real. Until that moment, he may have viewed leaving as temporary. He may have expected Jenny to become angry, call repeatedly, and eventually let him return. The luggage told him she was not waiting in place anymore. And even if Sumit runs back before she leaves, nothing returns to normal. Jenny will always remember that when forced to choose, he walked out with his family. Sumit will remember that Jenny connected contact with his parents to the possible end of their marriage. Those wounds will not disappear because of one emotional reunion. The most likely outcome is that Sumit tries to offer a compromise after the damage is already done. He may ask Jenny to stay while he divides his time between her and his parents. But without firm boundaries, that arrangement would recreate the exact same problem. Jenny would question every family visit. His parents would question every return to Jenny. Sumit would continue trying to satisfy everyone while disappointing everyone.